Hey everyone, in this video I want to touch on one specific topic, which is, in a frame battle or any type of argument or debate, what to do if you are placed on the defensive, and how to place others on the defensive yourself. My point is that a good offense is always the best defense. Let's take a look at how it works. So you've probably seen this at some point in your life, maybe very frequently, in a debate or any type of argument where two people are trying to very subtly convince that the other one is wrong. You see someone suddenly get on the defensive and they become a whole mess. They can't make their point, they're emotional, they're frustrated, maybe see the vein popping out of their forehead, but whatever their reaction is, they can't hold it together. They can't continue acting normally as they did. So what I want to explore is how someone gets placed on the defensive and what to do if you are placed on the defensive yourself. So first of all, how is someone placed on the defensive? Usually, the person leverages one of three techniques. Either you make the person look bad, you make them look effortful, or you make them look weird, or some combination of these, actually. First, you want to make the person look bad. That is, you question their credentials, you question their results, you question their upbringing, whatever it is. Naturally, there is a line here between the professional and the personal, and you don't want to take it too far. But what you want to do is you want to attack their credibility, either by attacking the actual premises of the conclusion that they're drawing towards, or by attacking anything that is associated with those premises or those conclusions. So it's something like, for example, in the boardroom, someone saying, hey, when I was CEO, revenues were up by 10%. And you stating, hey, I've went through these numbers and some people don't agree with them. Or can you tell me a little bit more about why this number in specific? So you're compromising the result in some way. Or you can even compromise the actual person to compromise the facts as well. Making them look effortful is another way. And what you do is you're kind of patronizing and you're making it seem like this is very hard for them. It's saying something like, hey, I'm going to let you speak because it seems like you're making a lot of effort to make your point and I want to give you as much time as you need. Or something like this. It's very subtle, but what you're doing is you're kind of giving them an advantage because you're kind of implying that they need it. You're stating, hey, it seems like you're really putting in a lot of effort to state this or to prove this, so I'm just going to give you all your time, or I'm just going to agree with you out of pity. It works exceptionally well, especially with arrogant people or narcissistic people, because they think that it's a compliment, but actually you're poisoning them with that kind of compliment. The third type of technique is to make the other person seem weird or isolated in some way. And here's the thing, just to state, just because someone thinks in a unique manner, that doesn't mean that they should be taken advantage of, or it doesn't mean that they're wrong. But in an argument, this is how it works. Usually, if you're the only person to think something, it's much easier to put that person on the defensive. So you state something like, in the boardroom, for example, hey, you state that the revenue was up by 10% this year, but nobody else here thinks that. Can you tell me why you're different from every other executive? Or even worse, you make the other people seem qualified and then you ask why they're different from the other people. So you say something like, hey, we have a lot of experienced operators in the boardroom and nobody agrees with this 10% revenue increase. So can you tell me why you're different from all of these other successful, experienced operators who went to good schools? Why are you different from them? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to paint the picture of this person being weird or isolated, and you can even compliment the other people, because the more that you compliment the people that are different from this person, the more that you're attributing negative characteristics to this person who is alone. So these are usually the three main ways in which someone gets placed on the defensive. You make them look bad, you make them look effortful, or you just make them look weird or isolated. Now, an important insight is what should you do if you're placed on the defensive? And the answer is very simple. You either ignore it or you reply very quickly and you move on to the next thing. So if someone asks you, for example, why do you say 10% revenue when nobody else thinks that? Or why do you state 10% revenue when I don't really make the numbers add up in my case? You want to answer irrelevant. Or you want to say, honestly, I don't know. Let me move on to the next point. So what you're trying to do is you are trying to not spend time on that topic. You can think of it in the following way. The more that something is discussed, the more importance that it's given. It's literally a persuasion effect called exposure. So for example, if you have a profile of a CEO in a magazine, if it's 1 page, that means he's important. If it's 2 pages, it means he's more important. And if it's 4 pages or more, it means he's more and more important. So the more exposure that you give to something, the more importance that you're giving to it. And the same applies here. If someone is attacking you, you want to get the topic out of the way immediately, because the more that they're going to spend time on that topic, the more that they're giving legitimacy and credibility to that attack. So what you want to do is, when someone tries to place you on the defensive, you want to immediately ignore it. You want to say, irrelevant, I don't know, I don't care, I have my sources, I have my numbers, and I'm not going to answer that. Next question. Because if you think about it, when someone is placed on the defensive, they're asking questions to try and prove themselves. So someone asks you, can you justify your 10% in terms of numbers? As soon as you accept that and you start to prove yourself, you're digging your own game. Because you're saying, it's because of this, it's because of this as well. And now you're in a loop of trying to convince others and proving yourself. So what you want to do is you want to not even play that game from the beginning. So if someone says, well, I can't make these numbers add up, you immediately say, well, that's not my problem. Check my sources, check my analysis. That's a question for later. Because as soon as you accept it, and as soon as you go on the defensive, you're not coming back from that easily. So in a way, I guess what I'm saying is the best way to not be on the defensive is not even start being on the defensive in the first place. Hit the problem right at the source. Because once you enter defensive mode, it's going to be very hard for you to really prove yourself and to come back from that. And finally, an effect that works very well to place somebody else on the defensive is intimidation. And again, you can use it to a reasonable degree, or you can use it in a completely ridiculous manner. But this is the effect that is caused. It's intimidation, it's innuendo, it's creating a shadow of pressure on the other person. So in our example, if the CEO is another person and you don't trust those 10%, instead of just asking logically, can you justify the 10% in terms of revenue? Because I can't reach the same number. You can say, with intense eye contact in a breaking tonality, hey, can you justify these numbers? Because I can't reach the same numbers. Can you please give me a reply? So you can see how I'm using direct eye contact, I'm using the silence, and I'm using what's called a breaking tonality, where the voice becomes shorter at the end. You're saying, hey, give me this justification. And because of this, it sounds a lot more aggressive. Well, there are salespeople that close people in terms of sales and purchases just due to this, asking, hey, are you going to buy or not? Do you care about your family or not? They throw in a little bit of emotional manipulation in there as well. So what happens is, if you're the victim of this, you want to not react to the pressure. You just shrug your shoulders and move on. Irrelevant, I don't care. If you are the person who is using this, for good reasons obviously, you can turn up the pressure a little bit. Use the voice, use the eye contact, or just use pressure in a general way, asking, hey, can you prove this? Can you show this? Can you do this? Can you justify this? That's the gist of it. So these are some considerations in terms of being on the offensive versus being on the defensive. Usually, someone is placed on the defensive because the other side either makes them look bad, they make them look weird, or they make them look effortful, or a combination of these. And if they use pressure on top of it, it's a lot easier for a person to be placed on the defensive. And if you find yourself on the defensive in the first place, just literally reject their questions or reject their pressure, or don't spend too much time on it. Because remember, the more time that you spend on something, the more importance that it gains. So you want to cut the problem at the source and not even give it time to be discussed in the first place. If you've enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing, and check out the channel for more videos regarding persuasion, negotiation, and communication techniques, both for this purpose and others as well. Thank you so much for watching.